Welcome back to Uprising. I'm Sonali Kohatkar. You can now subscribe for direct access to all our shows online at youtube.com/uprising with Sonali. Your subscription sustains the TV production of Uprising. It's every parent's nightmare. Your child does not come home from school or never shows up at school. There's a search, maybe Amber Alerts, media coverage, and all too often a heartbreaking discovery. But the script for what happens when a child goes missing can be dramatically different depending on the race of the missing child. For years, academics, activists, and others have noted the disproportionate response from law enforcement, politicians, and the media when a white girl is missing compared especially to a black girl. But FBI data shows that a whopping 40% of missing people are black. So pervasive is the societal blind spot on missing children of color that it even has a name among academics: missing white girl syndrome. Activists have even formed national nonprofit organizations, one named Black and Missing But Not Forgotten, another called the Black and Missing Foundation. Now, a short feature film airing on HBO highlights the ordeal of a fictional African-American family when their 15-year-old daughter goes missing, and how they experience indifference from the police and the media. Muted is an award-winning film by Brandy Ford, Rachel Goldberg, and Tara Tomelchevich, which has been recognized at a number of film festivals and stars Lena Gladwell from Grey's Anatomy and my guest Danielle Watts, whose film credits include Django Unchained, and who appeared on Uprising last year after an altercation that she had with the police. Welcome to Uprising. Welcome back to Uprising, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me. It feels good. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, can you put this film, Muted, which I had the privilege of watching yesterday and just blew me away. I was just so impressed by it. How do you put this film into the larger social and political context of how missing children are treated in our society, depending on the color of their skin?
I feel like it's a ongoing conversation about how we can become more aware of the racism that exists in our society and how that fundamentally filters into all different areas of media, politics, government, law enforcement, and how that affects our perception as the media relays it to the public. And I think that's something that changes over time, but it's definitely becoming more clear and clear as people are taking to YouTube and making their own movies and getting that news out there, saying, look, we deserve to have our stories heard and recognized.
In many ways, this is sort of a very little talked about story in the news. I mean, as I mentioned, academics have been following this, noting the strong disparity in how people are treated in the media and law enforcement. And activists themselves in the African-American community have formed organizations, have formed networks to try to do something to help themselves, because nobody seems to be giving enough help. But it's not covered very much in the media. And so I'm wondering, like, essentially the storyline of the film. A 15-year-old African-American girl who you play, Crystal, goes missing, doesn't show up home. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's the predictable heartbreak. I think nobody except someone who's actually been through it really knows what it feels like as a parent to have your child not show up. And then police have a very different take. The sense is that, well, if it's a white child who goes missing, they're innocent, something bad must have happened to them. But if a black child goes missing, they're probably up to no good.
Yeah, well, it's hard to really speak to it unless you've been through it. You know, it's like one of those situations where, having been through, just speaking personally, being through a situation recently where I've noticed the stereotypes that have been projected about me on a massive scale through the mainstream media, and then realizing that people relate to you completely differently because they totally believe that that is the truth. So, you know, people think, oh, well, she must be, you know, this sort of person who's having sex in her car just because a cop goes on TV and says that I was lying, even though the media doesn't cover the fact that the cop is currently under investigation and he's going to be fighting. There's so the balance.
Let's